The crowd fell silent as 7-year-old Lily Morgan broke away from her mother's grip and sprinted across the hospital lobby. "Mr. David," she cried, throwing herself into the arms of the janitor who had just emptied the trash. Victoria Morgan, CEO of Morgan Enterprises and one of the wealthiest women in the city, stood frozen in disbelief as her daughter clung to the very man she had fired 3 weeks earlier. If you're touched by this story already, please hit that like button and subscribe to see more life-changing stories that remind us what truly matters in this world. Victoria Morgan's heels clicked sharply against the marble floors of Morgan Enterprises headquarters. At 42, she commanded respect with her tailored suits and unwavering confidence. The company had been her father's legacy, and after his death 5 years ago, she had doubled its value through ruthless efficiency and strategic vision. "The quarterly reports are ready for your review, Ms. Morgan," her assistant said, hurrying alongside her. Victoria nodded curtly. "And the staff reductions?" "Human Resources has prepared the list. 30 positions to be eliminated by the end of the week." "Good. Make sure the severance packages are fair but not excessive. We need to trim the fat before the merger talks begin." Victoria had built walls around herself since her divorce 3 years ago. Her ex-husband had left her for a younger woman, and though the settlement had barely dented her fortune, it had hardened something inside her. Only for Lily did she soften, though lately, even those moments had become rare as she worked 14-hour days preparing for the biggest deal of her career. That evening, as Victoria reviewed the list of employees to be terminated, one name caught her attention: David Reyes, maintenance staff, Building B. 5 years with the company, satisfactory performance reviews. Single parent. Reason for termination: position redundancy. She vaguely recalled seeing him in the hallways, a quiet man who always nodded respectfully when they passed. Something about his file made her pause, but only briefly. Business was business. She initialed the page and moved on. David Reyes stared at the termination notice in his trembling hands. At 36, he had spent the last 5 years rebuilding his life after his wife Maria's death from cancer. Their son, Miguel, was now 8 years old and the center of David's world. "I'm sorry, Mr. Reyes," the HR representative said, not quite meeting his eyes. "Your position has been eliminated as part of company-wide restructuring. Your final paycheck will include 2 weeks severance." 2 weeks. David's mind raced through calculations. Rent was due in 10 days, Miguel needed new shoes for school, and his asthma medication cost nearly $200 per month even with insurance, which he would now lose. "Is there any possibility of transfer to another department?" David asked, his voice steady despite the panic rising in his chest. "I'm afraid all departments are reducing staff. The decision comes directly from Ms. Morgan's office." That night, David sat at their small kitchen table long after Miguel had gone to bed. Job listings blurred before his tired eyes as he searched for anything that could keep them afloat. His savings would cover perhaps a month of expenses if he was extremely careful. "Dad?" Miguel stood in the doorway, rubbing his eyes. "Are you okay?" David forced a smile. "Of course, Mijo. Just some work stuff. Go back to bed. Is it about your job? I heard you talking on the phone earlier." David sighed. His son was too perceptive for his own good. "Come here." He pulled Miguel onto his lap, though the boy was getting almost too big for it. "Yes, I lost my job today. But don't worry, I'll find another one soon." "Is it because I got sick last month and you had to miss work?" No, nothing like that," David assured him, heartbreaking at the worry in his son's eyes. "Big companies sometimes have to make changes. It's not personal." But it felt personal as David lay awake that night, wondering how he would keep his promise to Maria that Miguel would always be safe and cared for. Victoria rarely visited Building B, where the maintenance staff and lower-level administrative employees worked. But a week after the terminations, an issue with the climate control system required her presence at a meeting with the facilities manager. As she walked through the hallway, she noticed the difference immediately. The floors weren't as spotless, the trash bins were overflowing, and there was a general sense of neglect that hadn't been there before. "We're still adjusting to the reduced maintenance staff," the facilities manager explained apologetically. "The remaining team is stretched thin." Victoria frowned. Efficiency cuts were supposed to streamline operations, not create new problems. "Hire temporary help if necessary. I don't want our working environment compromised." Later that day, as she was leaving the building, Victoria spotted a familiar face in the lobby, David Reyes, speaking with the security guard. He looked different out of his maintenance uniform, more diminished somehow, with dark circles under his eyes. Their gazes met briefly before Victoria looked away, stepping into the elevator. A twinge of something, guilt, discomfort, passed through her, but she pushed it aside. Thousands of business decisions crossed her desk each month. She couldn't afford to personalize them. 3 weeks after losing his job, David stood in line at the community health clinic, Miguel fidgeting beside him. The boy's wheezing had worsened overnight, and without insurance, this was their only option. "It's going to be a long wait," the receptionist warned. "We're short-staffed today." David nodded, guiding Miguel to the only empty seats in the crowded waiting room. He had applied for 27 jobs in the past 3 weeks, securing only 2 interviews that had led nowhere. His landlord had given him an extension on the rent, but that grace period would end in 4 days. "Dad, I'm bored," Miguel complained, his breathing labored. "I know, buddy. How about I tell you a story?" David pulled his son closer, launching into a tale about a brave knight that had been Miguel's favorite since he was 4. Across the waiting room, Victoria Morgan entered with her daughter, Lily. The little girl had fallen during gymnastics practice and needed her wrist examined. Victoria had reluctantly cleared her afternoon schedule after the school nurse called. "Mom, it really hurts," Lily whimpered, cradling her arm. "I know, sweetheart. The doctor will see you soon." Victoria approached the reception desk, her authoritative presence causing several heads to turn. "My daughter needs immediate attention. We have an appointment with Dr. Winters." "I'm sorry, ma'am, but Dr. Winters is running behind. There are several emergency cases ahead of you." Victoria's expression tightened. "I understand, but my daughter is in pain. Surely something can be arranged." As Victoria negotiated with the increasingly flustered receptionist, Lily wandered away, drawn by the sound of storytelling. She approached David and Miguel, listening intently to the knight's adventure. And then the knight realized that his greatest strength wasn't his sword or his armor, but his kindness, David was saying, making dramatic gestures that made Miguel smile despite his discomfort. "That's a good story," Lily said, sitting down uninvited next to Miguel. "I like knights." David smiled at the little girl. "Well, thank you. I'm David, and this is Miguel. I'm Lily. I hurt my arm." She displayed her swollen wrist proudly. "That looks painful," David said sympathetically. "Miguel's having trouble breathing today, so we're waiting to see the doctor too." Miguel and Lily quickly fell into conversation, comparing school experiences and favorite superheroes. David noticed the expensive clothes the little girl wore and wondered where her parents were. "Lily." Victoria's sharp voice cut through the waiting room. "Come back here right now." Lily reluctantly stood. "That's my mom. She's always busy and mad about something." As Victoria approached to retrieve her daughter, she stopped short upon recognizing David. An uncomfortable silence fell between them. "Mr. David works at my mom's company," Lily announced. "He fixed the water fountain in my mom's office when I visited last month." "Worked," David corrected gently. "I don't work there anymore." Victoria's cheeks flushed slightly. "Lily, we need to stay by the reception desk. Our turn could come any minute." "But Mom, Miguel is having trouble breathing, and Mr. David is telling the best stories." Victoria glanced at Miguel, noticing his wheezing for the first time. "I'm sorry to hear that," she said stiffly. "I hope he feels better soon." As she led Lily away, David couldn't help but wonder if Victoria even remembered signing his termination papers, or if he had been just another name on a list to her. The next morning, Victoria sat in her office reviewing the merger documents when her assistant interrupted. "Ms. Morgan, your daughter's school is on line 1. Apparently, Lily had an incident during recess." Victoria's heart raced as she grabbed the phone. "This is Victoria Morgan. Ms. Morgan, this is Principal Winters. Lily had an asthma attack during outdoor play. The school nurse has stabilized her, but we recommend she see her doctor today." "Asthma? There must be some mistake. Lily doesn't have asthma. The symptoms were quite clear, Ms. Morgan. This may be her first episode. It's not uncommon for asthma to develop suddenly in children her age." Victoria cancelled her meetings and rushed to the school, finding Lily pale but calm in the nurse's office. "Mom, I couldn't breathe," Lily explained. "It was scary, like what Miguel had yesterday." "Miguel?" Victoria asked, confused. "The boy from the clinic. He let me try his inhaler once when the nurse wasn't looking. He said it helps when air gets stuck." Victoria frowned at this revelation but focused on getting Lily to her pediatrician, who confirmed the asthma diagnosis and prescribed medication. "It's quite manageable with proper treatment," the doctor assured them. "But you'll need to monitor her closely and keep her inhaler accessible at all times." That evening, as Victoria helped Lily prepare for bed, the little girl asked a question that caught her off guard. "Mom, why did you fire Mr. David?" Victoria paused. "That's a complicated adult matter, Lily. Miguel said his dad lost his job and now they might lose their house. That's not fair." Victoria sighed, sitting on the edge of Lily's bed. "Sometimes companies have to make difficult decisions to stay successful. But you always say we have more money than we need. Couldn't you give Mr. David his job back? Miguel says his dad works really hard." The innocent logic of her daughter's question left Victoria momentarily speechless. She had indeed made that comment about their wealth, never expecting Lily to connect it to business decisions. "It's not that simple, sweetheart. Now get some sleep. You've had a long day." But as Victoria worked in her home office later that night, Lily's words echoed in her mind. On impulse, she pulled up David Reyes' employee file. His performance reviews were consistently positive. His supervisor had noted his reliability and willingness to take on additional responsibilities. There were several commendations from other departments for his helpful attitude. Victoria also found something she hadn't noticed before, a note about David requesting schedule adjustments after his wife's death to care for their son. The request had been granted because of his exemplary service record. For the first time, Victoria wondered if she had made a mistake. David sat across from the bank loan officer, trying to maintain his composure as his request for a small personal loan was denied. "I'm sorry, Mr. Reyes, but without steady employment, we simply can't approve this application." "I understand," David said, gathering his documents. "Thank you for your time." Outside the bank, David checked his phone, 3 missed calls from Miguel's school. His heart sank as he listened to the voicemail. Miguel had suffered another asthma attack and was being taken to Memorial Hospital. David ran the 6 blocks to the hospital, having sold his car the previous week to cover rent. By the time he arrived, sweating and out of breath, Miguel had been admitted and was receiving treatment. "Dad!" Miguel called weakly from the hospital bed, an oxygen mask covering his face. "I'm here, Mijo." David rushed to his son's side, taking his small hand. "I'm right here." The doctor explained that Miguel's condition had worsened significantly. He needs stronger medication and possibly a specialist consultation. "Do you have insurance coverage?" David shook his head, explaining their situation. "I see," the doctor said sympathetically. Let me check what assistance programs might be available. In the meantime, we'll continue treatment. David spent the night in an uncomfortable chair beside Miguel's bed, alternating between worry for his son and anxiety about the mounting hospital bills. By morning, Miguel's breathing had improved, but the doctor recommended keeping him for observation. I need to step out for a job interview, David told Miguel reluctantly. The nurse has my number, and I'll be back as soon as possible. It's okay, Dad, Miguel said bravely. I know you have to find work. David kissed his son's forehead, fighting back tears as he left the room. In the hospital lobby, he collided with someone rushing in, Victoria Morgan, with Lily in tow. Mr. David. Lily exclaimed, recognizing him immediately. Victoria looked equally surprised. Mr. Reyes. I didn't expect to see you here. My son had an asthma attack, David explained, his voice tight. I was just leaving for a job interview. Is Miguel okay? Lily asked worriedly. He's doing better, thank you for asking. David smiled at the little girl, then nodded politely to Victoria. If you'll excuse me, I can't be late. As David walked away, Lily tugged at her mother's hand. Mom, we should visit Miguel. He must be scared in the hospital all alone. Victoria hesitated. They were at the hospital for Lily's follow-up appointment with the pulmonologist, not for social calls. But something in her daughter's earnest expression made her reconsider. We'll see, Lily. First, we need to see your doctor. After Lily's appointment, the little girl insisted on finding Miguel's room. Against her better judgment, Victoria allowed herself to be led through the pediatric ward until they found room 307. Miguel's face lit up when he saw Lily. Hi. What are you doing here? I have asthma too now, Lily announced, climbing onto the foot of his bed without invitation. The doctor says I need to use an inhaler like yours. Victoria stood awkwardly in the doorway, taking in the sparse room. Unlike the private room she had requested for Lily's overnight stay last month, this was a standard shared room, though the other bed was currently empty. Miguel's few belongings were neatly arranged on the bedside table, a worn action figure, a paperback book, and a framed photo of what appeared to be Miguel with both his parents. Where's your dad? Victoria asked, trying to sound casual. He had a job interview, Miguel explained. He said he'd be back soon. Victoria noticed the boy's worried expression despite his attempt to sound brave. On impulse, she asked, would you like some company until he returns? Miguel nodded shyly, and Victoria found herself sitting in the chair David had vacated hours earlier while Lily chattered away about their matching condition. The nurse said I need to stay until tomorrow, Miguel told them. Dad's worried about the bills, but he tries not to let me see. Victoria felt a knot form in her stomach. I'm sure everything will work out, she said, the platitude sounding hollow even to her own ears. An hour passed, with Lily and Miguel watching cartoons while Victoria answered emails on her phone. When a nurse came to check Miguel's vitals, Victoria stepped into the hallway to take a call from her office. The merger documents need your signature today, her assistant reminded her. I'll be there by 3, Victoria promised, ending the call just as David returned to the hospital. His expression when he saw her was a mixture of surprise and wariness. Ms. Morgan. I didn't expect you to still be here. Lily wanted to visit Miguel, Victoria explained. They seem to have bonded over their shared condition. David nodded, glancing into the room where the children were laughing at something on the television. Thank you for staying with him.